Why do you say that? All my life, my father tried to control every decision I made, from the clothes I wore to the college and branch of engineering I studied, and even the decision to go to America. If it was not his choice, my father believed it to be wrong. My conversations with him were always limited. While my mother often sided with me in private, she never, in all her years, put her foot down to support me in front of my father. As a consequence, when I fell in love with Alice and decided to marry her, I was afraid to tell my parents. I was an adult at this time, 26 years old, employed and financially independent, and free to do anything I wanted. But an invisible rope was holding me back. I guess deep inside I knew I would not get my father's acceptance. Alice and I married without informing my parents. Alice's parents were respectful of her decisions. So the marriage, which was held in a church, saw only her side of the family and some of my friends in attendance. When I said my wedding vows to Alice, I knew that a line had been crossed with my parents. It was not long after the wedding that a friend shared a picture of our wedding on social media. The picture reached my parents. I remember that night vividly when my mother called me. Alice was in the bed with me. My mother was crying uncontrollably. She was yelling, "How could I do this to them, their only son, to marry without their knowledge, to a girl of a different race and caste, of a different religion? How could I be so ungrateful, so cruel? What kind of a wicked sorceress she must be to trap their son in her web?" Her tirade went on and on. I was seething with anger and hurt at her unguarded words. I tried to explain that I was afraid of them not accepting Alice. As had happened to my wishes many times before, I knew my father was sitting there listening to me, as my mother kept referring to his presence throughout. Finally, my father took the phone from my mother. His voice was curt. "Leave that wench and come back to India. I will find you a suitable girl from our caste. We will forget any of this happened and move on." Something broke in me when he said that. "What the hell are you saying?" I yelled at him. "You are talking about my wife. Will you leave your wife and go if someone asks you to? You are a stupid, egoistic man, and you have been this way all your life. Everything I wanted in my life you tried to control. I will not let you do anything more with my life choices ever again." My words came pouring out without restraint. There was a long pause. "You are right. You are you. You can do anything you want. You don't need this stupid, egoistic man anymore. You are dead to me, Arjuna, as of this minute. I am going to perform the ritual for the dead for you and mourn your loss." I could hear my mother screaming in the background at my father. "If your mother somehow decides to stay in touch with you after this, she too will be dead to me. Don't try to connect with me again, and I will not try to connect with you." That was the last time I spoke to my father or mother. Alice was distraught about how she had caused a break in my relationship with my parents. She advised me many, many times to call my parents and make amends. She bought me a ticket to India and some gifts for her in-laws so I could travel back home and make things right. But I think I too had inherited some of the egoistic stubbornness. I refused to call my parents or go to India. What was liberating in the beginning became a burden of guilt with time. Slowly, I began yearning for connection with my parents. I felt incomplete, ungrateful. I tried calling my mother's phone. There was no response. I tried many times after, but I was never successful.